Yeah. Well, it just seemed like getting something done. Okay, never mind. My bad. They
It's
didn't
a
get
good thing
it
they
done.
outlawed dice.
Well, only in Massachusetts, though.
You know.
So anyway, so where are we with your process?
We're going to have another open meeting on Thursday at 7 to 9 o'clock. We're going to try a weekday to see if that helps some people. That have different schedules.
7 in the morning to 9 o'clock.
No,
It's a
7
terrible
o'clock
time.
at night.
Oh, okay. I
Monday.
knew that.
It's Monday.
I knew that.
Okay. And we're going to do a PowerPoint presentation again, but we're going to do a little different version. We're going to try and really focus in on the two types of government, what each one, what they do, and what the changes would make and how it would be an improvement. We're trying to make it as simple and as clear as possible. Since it's for the average person to read 36-page document, to pick out all the points can get difficult.
I don't know if I should ask you this or not, but how do the selectmen feel like this? It's kind of like throwing them under the bus.
We've really had no interaction with the selectmen as far as the process.
Oh, you're not supposed to, or?
I have no idea, but they haven't really sat there and say, hey, we like this, we don't like this, or anything like that. That's really not happened.
It's not like insulting to them to be saying, hey, we'd like to go over to a mayor from.
Not really, because we've made a decision which way to go, and the decision isn't based on. It's based on the actual type of government. It's not based on the people themselves that are in office.
Right, of course.
So no.
Well, I would hope not. Should be doing it from a personal point of view.
It's been pretty straightforward for us as far as that goes. But we had to go up the whole planning board, a member of the planning board. We went on Saturday to Holy Cross for a training. It's okay. Again, it's Monday, so we had a training session where we all took like 3 different classes, and we all had different ones. So it was like 15 different classes between the 5 of us on planning and all the different functions that involve planning and new rules and regulations, that are coming through and everything else. It's a good way to keep up. To make us
so
do a
there
better
were
job.
classes for planning boards. Okay.
Planners,
Right.
town planners,
Okay.
people who are in the planning
Town
business,
planners,
and stuff like that. So it was interesting. We have to update our master plan. So I took one of the courses for master plan, and the woman who was presenting the course has done 22 master plans for different towns throughout the state. Was talking about the form of government and how it affected, planning and stuff. And I was very surprised to hear from someone who was involved this way that her first comment was, the individual towns need to look at their governments closely, because the form of government we have, which we've had for a long time, which her words were, I never thought I'd say this, really do not work anymore as far as planning. They're actually a hindrance to planning rather than a help. And she wasn't saying go to a mayor and a town council, but she was saying that they need to look at what they're doing because it's not working.
How is it a hindrance, or how did she present it as a hindrance?
It's very hard.
How is it hindering you guys?
What she was saying was basically it's very hard to get a consensus to make a master plan together, to put it together and to actually implement and get it done.
Well, ain't that America? I mean, right now.
Yeah.
So
what she was saying was, if you have a strong, single person or individual, involved with the government, as a mayor would be, it is a lot easier to get the master plan done and implemented. And she was talking mostly about how some of these towns spend the time, don't have everybody get into the program and then try and implement it. It just doesn't happen.
So what she's saying is too many cooks spoil the broth, as it were.
Exactly.
To coin the phrase.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So now, do you excuse me? Do you find that in
It was
on the
enlightening to
planning
hear
board?
that.
Yeah. Well, I imagine.
Because we didn't ask that question.
Right.
It came out there.
Right. But have you found you're on the planning board, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So have you found it to be so here? Have you found planning to be hindered by the current form of government?
Somewhat, because again, all these groups don't work. We don't work smoothly together because it's not set up that way. Planning, conservation, and zoning. We're trying to get a form where we have joint meetings, or at least talk to each other. But as of right now, all these groups work individually, and say the goals of the town administrator and the goals of the particular boards may not be the same, and therefore what happens is you go off in different directions. So instead of working smoothly for a common goal, you're working against each other a little bit.
So I understand why you'd want to go over to get one strong personality to marshal the whole thing, but it just seems to me, why is it difficult to get boards together to hash out what the common goal is? I mean, the common goal is to do what's right for Wareham, You know, and I understand
Yeah.
so that you may have two different ideas or more of what is right for Wareham. And I'm sure every town goes through this. But
Absolutely.
there has been, for some length of time, a method and a means of agreeing in America up until recently, up until maybe 12 years ago. What has happened? Why can no one compromise and agree anymore? Any idea?
I haven't been at this long enough to give you a straight answer, but from what I can see, it's really a simple word called communication. For some reason, each one of the groups seems to not have the ability or the desire, or, you know, just to do the communication that's necessary ahead of time. If a project comes into the town, as an example, it doesn't get vetted as a single unit by all the boards involved. So they can actually sit and talk to each other and say, we're going to have this problem, we have this, whatever. So if someone comes into town, and we're getting off subject as far as the charter, but it really involves the setup, you could go to the planning board and you present, and what happens is the developer could present a plan. They make some changes. You go to conservation, they ask for changes again. It gets changed again, it may have to come back to planning. Then it may have to go to zoning for something. And it's not a smooth process.
It sounds like on a single committee scale, a committee with no mission statement. So basically, it sounds like a town with no mission statement. I mean, the thing is that there's a mathematical way. There's a mathematical way of figuring out whether something is going to or not going to raise or keep our ability from having to raise taxes. You know, whether you should we get more development in? Should we have less development?
Yeah.
Should we let more transients in? Should we have less? Should we have a larger school system or a smaller school? All that kind of stuff. That all seems to me to be something that well, first of all, that all seems to me something that needs to be discussed amongst the boards. They should have. I don't care if they have to have a summer camp and to do that, but somehow or another it needs to be done. Just having one person be the strong marshaling force behind it is not a solution either, because it's always what we're going to end up with is one person's opinion.
Well, again,
of what his vision of the
you have
of the town should
but
be
you'd
like.
have a master plan which everybody gets involved with. Because if you try and put together a master plan and one person does it and nobody buys in, it's never going to happen. I mean, you know, the simple fact is, whatever you do, you have to bring all the stakeholders. Which
So
is
what's the
board.
position of Wareham's master plan?
We haven't done a master plan since, I think, 1998.
Okay, but there's one done.
There's one
There's
there,
and
but that whole committee and stuff sunsetted around 2003.
okay.
So we need to basically go back and work on that. When they get new town
Right,
planner in,
but for lack of having a new one, there's an old one, and it seems to me that if you don't have a new one, then you still go with the same plan, meaning the mission of what was going on in the master plan in 1998. You continue with that until you get a new one. If somebody's unhappy with it, then they're going to be a little bit more compelled to say, you know, it's time for the new master plan. Is it required by law, like you know how we have to look at the
you don't have to. There's a lot of towns that never have put one in. Some have, but you're supposed to have one. But it's not like you're not going to get penalized, from what I could read on the laws. And you're supposed to have one that goes out 5 years and renew it at the end of 5 years again. But again, you know, the problem is how many people actually in the government read the master plan, and does the town administrator basically hold everybody to it?
right. Who holds their feet to the fire? If you have a master plan, that's the direction that you've all decided the town's going to go in, and the town should go in that direction until another master plan is come up with. That's what seems to me, because that's how life works. That's how an individual person works.
I can't give you an answer, but I don't know if anybody's really looked at the master plan as it is, and is actually using it as any basis for anything as of right now. Because I went and pulled the master plan. I was just curious to see where we're at with it. And I have, you know, I have the actual plan.
Have you, just in your own reading, have you seen whether we have in fact moved in the direction of what the master plan in 1998 had said? We meaning Wareham?
In some areas, yes. Some areas, no. Again, you know, it's not direct. And I think it's really because right now the biggest problem we have in town is, it's okay. I got half a leg there. Is that, you know, we're going to hire a town planner. They've made a commitment to hire a town planner. It's extremely important, because what happens in the town is, if you don't have a town planner, someone who's helping the boards, what ends up happening is you're being reactive rather than proactive. And in these days, if you have to be reactive,